Right.
and maybe some festivals. So, I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, to a degree. I guess I'm trying to get a sense of whether or not it is it's getting harder or easier to get gigs for purely traditionally oriented musicians, things that don't have a sound that is gonna, sound like anything remotely like pop music. And I don't know that there's a pat answer to that.
I think it's probably true that it is more difficult. It's how Phillips once said years ago, and they never forgot it. Traditional music always has to struggle to survive.
Yeah.
And it's because it's, it's always at a disadvantage in competing with forms that are more commercial.
Right. Are you in Pittsburgh, by the way? Do you know Mark Wilson, or do you know him from other contexts?
Mark Wilson.
Okay. And, Mark Wilson is by profession, he's a professor of philosophy now at the University of Pittsburgh, although I think he's only recently gone there. He's produced a lot of records for Rounder over the years, purely avocationally, of Appalachian fiddlers and banjoists.
Really? Does he play himself?
Yeah, he does, but not professionally. I mean, I don't think he goes out and does gigs. He plays, with his friends and at home. He told me, a lot of coaxing got him to tell me he's a damn good player, but he's modest about it. He doesn't perform for money, I believe. He's got he's got a very, very, hard line on what is and what is not traditional. I'm sure you've been around this. What kind of things do you look for? How do you decide whether or not you can take somebody on in an organization that's devoted to traditional music?
Well, for me, I still believe in the paramount nature of the oral transmission method of learning stuff.
Right.
And if someone's classically trained and then learns folk music, they've got a long way to go to convince me that they can really play it well.
Okay. So for you, it's kind of learning within a social environment as you're growing up, family or social environment?
Not only as you're growing up, adults can be part of that folk process too. It's just, learning the music with personal contact from a teacher to a student.
Okay.
With or without written materials.
Okay. Okay.
But there's that personal contact needs to take place.
Okay. And so that doesn't preclude influences of any kind whatsoever. I mean, they could be influenced by anything as long as it comes through another person.
Well, that person should be recognized as a master of the traditional art form.
Okay. Gotcha. So I went around and around with Mark on this because he's when I asked him what he looks for to record, he said to me that he said to me something similar to what you said. He's really concerned with oral tradition, and when I pushed him, he really ultimately came down on the idea that I said, when do you freeze the music, in a sense? When do you stop accepting stylistic changes, for example? And he said, before radio. If I start hearing and he there was a point beyond which he couldn't make this tangible, and I understand that. But he really came down to a sound that existed, in the communities he addresses prior to the intervention of electronic recording, which I thought was interesting. Is that something to which you subscribe?
I've heard the perspective before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a place for people who hold that position.
Mm-hmm.
I get a lot of delight out of hearing a really good traditional fiddle player who is playing music that clearly was played before the advent of radio.
Right.
I think I can identify a fiddle player
Right.
And my particular passion with piping, I mean, I've had the good fortune of having not one, but two of the world's greatest players who I've studied with both in the country to teach for summer sessions moved to Pittsburgh because Carnegie Mellon's interested in having a bagpipe degree program, which made it the first in the world in '87. And piping is a very traditional art form, and I'm always working on that. I still take weekly lessons from Jimmy McIntosh, who's 71 and won the gold medal in Scotland in 1970, and Alistair Gillies, who has won the World Series of Piping, the Silver Star in Inverness 9 times, more than any other piper in history. And so I'm interested in improving my skill with really difficult competition music, which goes back to the 19th century. So in a sense, I don't feel at all, and I don't believe these guys are at all influenced by radio, or they're influenced by recordings. In fact, I'm helping Jimmy get from reel-to-reel tape to CD the teachings of his teachers, who were the Royal Pipers of Balmoral for about 50 years. So I'm always on the quest for finding, that's what really excites me about traditional music, finding out how it was played in the old days. Just kind of trying to recreate that. How tough is it to make a living doing that? Well, you can make a living teaching. I have about 40 students in town. Plus, if you have marketing skills, you can find a way to market yourself. For example, I've worked at the Pittsburgh Bridal Show that keeps me busy almost every Saturday between March and December. Like 1 or 2 weddings. Plus, canvassing the funeral homes with flyers, so I get calls for funerals. And the fees are $250 to $350 a crack.
Right.
It makes it worthwhile.
Sure.
Leave the office for a few hours a day to go out and do one of these gigs.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I can support a family on it.
Yeah.
The money I get for directing the piping school, plus the local gigs, probably could pull it off, but I'm so deep into an agency now that I couldn't really give that up.
Right.
So I try to keep everything going. I'm always busy.
Yeah. Good.
I'm sure you know the trip.
Yeah, I know the trip.
Yeah. So, but in terms of performing, making a living out there as a concert performer in traditional music, very tough.
Yeah.
Gene Ritchie is in that oral category, and a venerable master and all that, but she doesn't get that many gigs.
Yeah, I would think. Right. Is age a factor there? Is she willing to travel and do the whole
Yeah,
trip?
she needs 2,500 plus travel and lodging for 2.
Yeah.
There's just not many venues out there that can afford it.
Right. Right. Let me, I don't want to take up a whole ton of your day, but if I could do a couple more things. There's been a constant reference among the people that I've talked to. Well, let me backtrack. In the minutes from Malibu, there was a reference to, the middle class whiteness of the group, which is what most of the revival looks like. And the Weissmans said at one point that they invited various representatives of ethnic groups who were ethnic arts groups, none of whom came. Throughout your involvement, your active involvement with the Folk Alliance, I guess your years on the board, was there concern about that? Were there continuing efforts made to really bring in people who didn't see themselves as professionals, but were nonetheless making true, vernacular traditional music, or was it at least talked about, how that was a failing?
In my mind, there's always a bit of a tightrope to walk when you use the word ethnic to describe an artistic group of people.
Okay. Well, and I do try and use vernacular, but it was just a little cleaner.
The oral tradition people use the word tradition more often than not. There's a whole other genre of ethnic musicians that are epitomized, I think, by Duquesne University's Tamburitsons, which is a program performance-oriented from Eastern European music and dance, where students get scholarships to become part of this troupe, and they travel around and do that during their 4 years at Duquesne, as well as be a regular student. And I know that back in 1980, the Pittsburgh Folk Festival, which is comprised mostly of the people who grew out of the Tamburitsons or got them started in the first place, they applied to the NEA for a challenge grant to get them a facility, and the NEA turned them down because they didn't really espouse the way they were going about preserving, if you will, or perpetuating folk traditions. It's too much of a performance art, too much emphasis on that, and not enough on oral transmission, or shall we say traditional means of transmission. Because
Okay.
a lot of these kids were classically trained, and they learned this music on the side. We were able to use it in this group. So, and I find that, in square dancing you get Western and Appalachian square dancing, and Western's always a little bit flashier and more performance oriented and that kind of thing. And there's other aspects to it that I'm having a hard time putting words in right now, but for some reason it just seems a little bit less authentic.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of our concern was just not getting those people involved in what we were doing,
Okay.
because we were concerned with preserving the authenticity of traditional music,
Right.
and we didn't see those people as helping the process. It really didn't come out as a debate, but I think all of us seem to have shared it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. But I guess I guess what I'm also trying to get at is just this feeling that people who make music in their own communities as part of their own social structure are not coming to the Folk Alliance unless they've self-identified as a folk group. Does that make sense to you? People who meet at the Rotary Club on Friday nights in an Eastern European community, don't come unless somebody digs them out and invites them to a showcase. And there's been some people have expressed to me a frustration in the inability of the Alliance to bring in those organizations. I think they're just not interested in trade, and that may be one problem with the trade show model. I don't know how they understand it's a trade show, but somehow they don't show up. Maybe it's the money that's involved.
Well, a lot of those people just want to stay amateurs, really.
Yeah.
I think the ones that have some aspiration of becoming professionals are likely to find out more about the Folk Alliance.
Right. Do you find the audience for traditional music aging at all? Another concern that's come up. People think that...
I wish there were more young people attracted to it, yeah.
Anything going on in the field, whether through the Folk Alliance or not, to try and do that in an organized kind of way? I mean, is it discussed at things you go to?
I haven't heard it discussed too much in the folk music realm. I know in the pipe music realm it's being discussed. And there's
So I guess that's something that people are wrestling with. Nobody knows quite how to solve it. Does the and you may even disagree with my premise here, but I guess the premise that I'm going to approach this next question with is the idea that what's loosely called the folk revival that's been going on for, I don't know, pick your number of years, since the 50s or 60s or 30s or 1900, but there's a political coloration to a lot of that. Does that enter into your world? And you seem to be really involved in real traditions, not topical music per se at all.
Well, McCutcheon has emerged as. You familiar with John McCutcheon?
Yeah, I have. I've heard some of his records, sure.
I mean, I was attracted to John because of his traditional music.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of an irony that here I am, his agent for 15 years, and booking every concert he's done in that time frame, and kind of watching this idol I had in traditional music and his talents as a musician, traditional musician and singer, coexist. I mean, they coexist with him as a singer-songwriter now.
Mm-hmm.
But his albums over the last, I don't know, 10 years have just been more in the singer-songwriter realm than in the traditional music realm,
Mm-hmm.
by and large. I mean, there's second to last one, probably Wings and Fly, was a bit of a return to traditional music for him.
Mm-hmm.
But he was still very much intent on being cutting edge with it.
Right.
He used didgeridoo and unusual kinds of elements that wouldn't be found in southwestern Virginia, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I feel caught up in the whole thing, really. And again, my passion is traditional music, but I'm making a living helping John and Robin Linda Williams, who are both writing, John more than them, writing political songs, but both writing great songs, and people want to hear them perform, and I'm just delighted that that's happening and being able to help them do that.
Right.
But it's not one of my passions.
Yeah. Well, Pete Seeger has said, in I don't know if he'd say it again, but he said that bringing forth non-commercial, marginalized music is a political act. Do you find a lot of that attitude? To the extent you have the opportunity to hear such attitudes among audiences you encounter, or is a non-commercial music is a political act? Do you find people are conscious? Do you find people are conscious of that, or do they just go to hear good music that they like? I mean, I'm wondering.
People just go to hear good music. I mean, there's a big contingent in Pittsburgh of union people who Pete has performed for a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, over 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they'll just come out because they identify folk music with the left, and if certain people are at a concert, i.e. Pete Seeger or Sycon or John McCutcheon for that matter,
Right.
they'll come,
Yeah.
primarily for the politics,
Mhm.
because they feel it's almost like a political event.
Right.
But there's a lot of people, I think the majority of people, not only over the country, but maybe even in Pittsburgh, will just come to hear good music.
Okay.
And a few will, if they realize that they're being preached to, will get pissed off about it.
Mm-hmm.
But most won't.
Yeah. Have you ever detected a political coloration in the Folk Alliance?
Well,
Some way in which it grows out of that.
there certainly isn't any Rush Limbaughs in the Folk Alliance that
Yeah.
I know of.
Right.
But political coloration, not particularly, certainly
Okay.
But when you have a concern for multiculturalism and diversity, I mean, those words, I think, are flag words for conventional leftist concerns.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, if you read, in other words, I think you can read behind the lines, but I don't think the lines themselves are political.
Sure. Okay. Well, I think I'm gonna let you go. I actually have to get ready to meet a school bus with 2 little kids on it.
Okay, Michael, well, it's been good talking with you.
I appreciate all the time.
These ancient memories.
It's been a long time that you've been on the phone with me, so I
hope it's been helpful to you.
It has been. It has been. All of this is helpful. I learn something different every time I do this.
I tend to give the Folk Alliance benefit of the doubt. I kind of, at certain points in our conversation, it sounded as though you were trying to criticize the Folk Alliance for not doing as much as an organization with that title should be able to do.
Oh.
And you have my sympathies in trying to do that, but my sympathies lie also in the realm of just being delighted that this event is happening.
Right.
And hoping that it just gets better over time, but not being too, I don't want to be, I personally can't be too hard on the people that are pulling the thing off these days, because I know how difficult it is in general to get people moving.
Don't take it as criticism. I mean, I see it as my job, kind of in doing this, to say, well, they've got these 5 goals written down.
Yeah.
What have they done about them?
Uh-huh.
Because by doing that, I prod people to answer me. That's really,
Right.
frankly, I love the Folk Alliance conferences. Do you know Randy Pitts at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, Randy is my closest friend.
Salvage.
Yeah, Freight and Salvage. Well, now he's an agent in Nashville. Randy's one of my best friends, and I room with Randy every time I go to the Folk Alliance, which has not been every conference. And
Pretty laid back.
yeah, so I go there and I hear a lot of music, and I walk around with Randy, and he introduces me to another 100 people I don't know, and I have a lot of fun actually. But you know,
Going to Cleveland?
I am. I'm going to Cleveland. I'll come by. Are you going to have a booth?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll come by and say hello. I'm adding my lineup here. Okay.
The study that you're doing, is that going to be published? Or?
Well, I hope so. You know, it's going to be the only way you get. You know, it's going to be. Well, I want to write for a popular audience, which means I'm going to write something that is going to be hopefully as jargon free as I can make it. My outlet is undoubtedly going to be a university press. You know, I'd like it if Doubleday would put it out, but by and large, it's likely to be a university press. And the way those things work is that, you know, you submit it and they send it out to reviewers in advance of agreeing to publication or not. And people critique it from the standpoint of, you know, does it advance the cause of scholarship and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I'm writing it for publication, whether or not that's the goal. I think that'll happen. But, you know, how that'll happen, I don't know. And who's going to put it out, I don't know.
Well, good luck with it.
Thank you very much. And I will come by and say hello in Cleveland. I usually circle the hall about 90 times. So.
Scully's a big name in Pittsburgh, you know that?
I had no idea.
Mr. Scully, I think, is one of the longtime directors of Duquesne University.
No, I have no idea. I didn't know that.
But there's money behind that name here, too, and there's some association with the Heinzes and the Mellons.
Well, I better contact these people. They may be related to me.
Pittsburgh, people will perk up when they hear your name.
Because there's no money at UT. Thank you, George.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.